see.
Okay, tomorrow night I have as the guest to my poetry workshop LB Sedilak, and her most two recent books are book of poetry simultaneous uh, submissions, which is terrific, and the poet survival guide, which I think everyone needs. I will post that information in the chat room after I read. So in the last few days or week, I've been involved with two projects. One at the Hudson Valley, the Writers Center, and one that was started by a local publisher. And the local publisher has us writing a poem for every day from yesterday up through Halloween as Halloween Halloween poems. So this is the first, Changing Leaves. It is the eighth month of the pandemic, and the summer has ended. Fall has come in its beauty, the leaves a color palette. But fall is sneaky. First comes the beauty, then comes the cold, and the leaves fall. Heavy jackets go on, lawn sitting ends, and I can already hear the hoofbeats of the headless horseman. This is unusual. This was for Halloween at the Hudson Valley Writers Guild, and Priscilla has already heard this. I don't know whether anyone else has. R.I. excuse me. R.I.P. Rip. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. The Halloween season is actually a fitting day for me to reveal the story on a very sad occasion. You are a select group, people whose names run the list given to me by Rip over 15 years ago. People he wanted here on this occasion whenever it happened. Before going further, I must call your attention to the confidentiality agreement that you signed on the way in. This was not just a perfunctory action. The extreme confidentiality is very important to his son John. So if anyone feels that they cannot live up to the terms of the agreement, please leave now. Nobody's left. Okay, my name is John McMullen, and I've been Rip Van's closest friend from grammar and high school throughout our 4 years of roommates at Cornell, right up until the day he died. It was not, however, until our senior year that Rip let me in on his closely guarded family secret. And as I go into it, you will understand the need for confidentiality. The Van Corporation traced its origins back to Rip's grandfather, and as the firm became one of the nation's most prosperous in real estate and construction, Robert Van's story as an orphan from Minnesota who rose to be the business giant became an inspiration to many. Actually, the story was a complete fabrication. The Van's family name was not really Van, but rather Van Winkle. That's right, as in Rip Van Winkle, but not the fictional Rip Van Winkle of Washington Irving's inspired nonsense, but rather the man with a rare genetic disease. That Rip, this Rip's great grandfather, was the first known American to have a sleeping sickness type condition. But there are rumors of similar illnesses in Eastern Europe, where the Van Winkles originally came from. The condition normally affects males in their 50s, and once affected, the males go into what appears to be a suspended animation or catonic condition uh, for anywhere from 15 to 20 years, usually awakening refreshed, but rather stiff for weeks. Rip's father, John, built the company to a major force in New York real estate and construction business before turning the reins over to Rip and becoming, suppose, recluse on his Sleepy Hollow estate in the mid 50s. Actually, he went into the Van Winkle condition, emerging in his early 70s and in relatively good health until he died peacefully at the age of 96. So this was what that Rip had to look forward to as he built the company to even great success. From the very beginning, he was planning for his descent into sleepiness. You all remember when he took over the top 2 floors of this building and turned it into a palatial penthouse with the large hot tub, fireplaces, circular staircases, terraces, etc. What was not known was that he, through a company, purchased the entire building, and a third floor was set up as the modern hospital suite with complete radiology and laboratory under the direction of his personal physician, Bill Merlino, and Bob Grimshaw, and his orthopedist, Steve Small. These doctors are with us today and will be available to answer questions later, as will his son John. I must say that John has taken the family fern even far beyond his father's dreams. Rip realized that his friends from New York would have a hard time accepting that he had become a recluse like his father. To all through his 40s, he would talk about wanting to explore the world, to go where most people had never been. And he actually did some very public mountain climbing in those years. Once he reached the 50s, he officially retired from the firm, passing the gauntlet over to John and publicly preparing for his worldwide exploration life. He was really moving into his private suite here, which is well stocked with books and electronic devices to be read and used until he went into his long slumber. Finally, not long before 9/11, he did go into slumber, awakening almost 18 years later. During his long rest, his physical condition was monitored by these doctors using blood work and MRIs, and he would periodically receive electronic massages. While all this was going on, reports of his travels throughout the world, based on his supposed communication with John, would appear periodically in the press. It was less than 2 weeks ago that I received the call I had long been waiting for. Rick was awake and wanted to see me. When he arrived, John was with him, and they had been speaking about both a personal thing and the business. Rick looked great, appearing much younger than me, even though we are the same age, and he began to pump me about the city and the world in the years that had passed. I told him about the aftermath of 9/11 and the resulting wars in Afghanistan and Iraq to continue. He was also very interested in New York City, and I filled him in on the Giuliani and Bloomberg years. He knew Bloomberg well from his years in New York business and greatly respected him. Then I told him about the election of Barack Obama, the first African American president. He was elated by the news and wanted to know if the election put an end to bigotry in the country. I replied, unfortunately, no. Only a short time after Obama's presidency, there was a parade in Virginia where people with KKK banners and Nazi flags marched. I then added, and unfortunately, President Trump really poured gasoline on the fire. What? President Trump? Donald Trump? I nodded yes. President Donald Trump, fucking Donald Trump. I come back to the world with President Donald fucking Trump. No way. But that before he could stop him and tell him of the president's poor chances of re-election, he opened the terrace door and swung over the edge to descend 32 floors. The official story has been of a tragic accident with the family suing the building. But as Paul Harvey used to say, now you know the rest of the story. Once again, there is information for you and only you. John Van and the doctors will make themselves available for your questions. I will not be available. Thank you very much for your attention, and I trust your ongoing discretion as did Rip. So that was what I read at Hudson Valley for Halloween. So and thank you for your attention as I muddle through that long thing. So.